77.
77.
Right.
Geek Speak, the definitive 365 cut. These are the meaningless ramblings of a Scottish we-done whore and a pissy ex-video store clerk. Their ongoing mission is to set right the movie wrongs. They're gonna need a bigger podcast.
Hello everybody and welcome to episode 77 of the 365 Flicks podcast.
Ooh, you're excited.
I am excited. This is an indie talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, we said indie talk was coming back with a vengeance, and it has come back with a vengeance with a new episode.
Yeah, that's how that works.
77.
Yeah.
And we have a blinder. We have an absolute blinder tonight.
Yeah, this is a good one.
Yeah, this is we've literally just got off recording. I am pretty pumped. I'm one coffee deep. You know, usually it takes more than that, but this interview has got me so jazzed, and you guys have to listen to it.
Yeah.
And you're gonna in a minute after we do the intro.
Timey-wimey.
Yeah.
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 It's a good shite interview. Good shite.
And I think
Good
the
interview.
interview is testament to yourself because you researched.
I did research.
You researched.
Yeah.
Usually, like, pull back the curtain a little bit. I'm the researcher.
Are you fuck?
And you just kind of go, oh yeah, I looked at their IMDb.
Get to buggery. That's some bullshit.
But this was an interview that got referred to us by our good friend Andrea Molinari, the writer and co-creator of The Shepherd, who we had on a few episodes back. Check the feed, you'll see it. I can't remember the number.
It's a good one. I'll have a look.
Yeah, they will have a look. They have to have a look. This was well, actually, why don't you introduce this one?
So the interview is with a guy who is called Charles Chester, or Charlie. He is the author and creator of a graphic novel called Boy Zero.
Yes.
Which is great.
Yeah, it is, man. I mean, as you will hear in the interview numerous times, I have not read Volume 2 yet. You've read half of it. And I'm definitely going to be reading the second half, like, as soon as possible, because I read the first one today in, like, 40 minutes. It's a good, strong 150 pages.
Yep.
And I blitzed through it because the way it's written and the way it's told and the artwork and everything is just so brilliant. It just flows and it just keeps you going right through till the end.
It definitely does. I was exactly the same, Kev. I couldn't stop reading it. And yeah, like you said, I'm about halfway through part 2 or volume 2, and yeah, I can't wait to find out how it's going to finish up.
Well, or is it?
Or is it going to finish up?
I don't know.
Well, that's...
You will have to listen to the interview to find out.
Yes.
Which is near the end of the interview, as that works. But first, Chris, where can people find us?
Well, I'm going to screw this up tonight.
You always do. So
I
why not?
don't always do, but...
Well, no, when you've had a few beers, normally it goes better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is why I try to make sure there's beers in the fridge for you.
Yeah. But I was driving, so...
Yeah, I know. Well,
Never
it is
mind.
raining.
Never mind. So we are 365 Flicks Podcast. You can find us on Facebook and you can find us on the Twitters if you have a search for 365 Flicks Podcast. You can fuck it. You can find us on a couple of cheeky networks. You can have a look for us on the Tangent Bound Network, the Wicked Radio Network, We Be Geeks, our British home, nerdly.co.uk, and of course, if you look for us on Twitter, you can find us on #PodernFamily. We are also on your podcasty feeds on the iTunes, the Stitcher, the Satchels, the Satchels? Anyway, and any other third-party podcasting app that you can possibly, for the most part, get on your phone.
Excellent.
It was almost okay.
You got there in the end. And before we do play the interview, I want to quickly, because this is an indie talk with an indie comic creator, we recently had another guy on. I think it was actually the last episode that we released of Indie Talk.
Yeah.
He had a Kickstarter out, Daniel Farron, for his comic book The Untold. He's trying to get issue number 2 made. Well, the Kickstarter is funded. It's 100% funded. Fucking well done, man. Like,
oh yeah.
And he done it in super quick speed, so that was awesome. Getting really good feedback from that. The guy's made it. Issue 2 will be coming. I think he thinks it's like round about nearer the end of the year. Now he's just trying to get stretch goals, which I think he's almost made his first stretch goal, which again, fantastic. There's a lot of feedback on this book, and I can't wait. The Untold's a great book.
I finished reading
Yes.
Volume 1, and I absolutely loved it.
It is a blind book, and another one that we fully, here at 365, we fully endorse. And if you haven't backed it already, there is still time. I think as we speak right now, there's still about 2 weeks left to go, and he's already made his goal. So everything you give him now is just bonus. It's just like saying, "Oh, well done, man. Here's some more. Just throw money at him. Just do it. Just throw money at him." You know, how much does a cup of coffee cost in your local Starbucks or Cafe Nero or?
You asking me?
Yes.
I don't know. $3.50.
$3.50. Take that $3.50 and put it on his Kickstarter. Let's get this book. Well, it's already past the goal, but let's get this book made and then some. But that's not why we're here tonight. We are here tonight to talk to Charlie Chester, the man behind Boy Zero, and also a little bit of a filmmaker.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
It's cool. And we watched the short film that he made earlier on today.
We did.
And it's damn good.
It is.
So why don't we let Charlie tell everyone about it?
Interview in progress.
Is that a page from the Shepherd back there?
Sure is.
It sure is, yeah. He sent it over
Nice.
to us. It's a brilliant piece. That absolutely love that.
Very cool. Andrea will be ecstatic about that, I'm sure.
I hope so. That's going to be the Pimpage wall for the people we speak to.
That's awesome. Very cool, guys.
So do you want to start?
Yeah,
off?
let's go for it.
I'll
Yeah,
let you start this one off.
We are joined by Charles Chester. Charles, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. And it's early afternoon here in the States.
Yeah, the time difference.
Yeah. Well, it's nighttime here and it's raining outside, so
Yeah.
that's
Is it?
pretty that's as British as it gets for you.
Nice.
So welcome to the show. Welcome to 365 Flicks.
Yeah, happy to be here, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, we are happy to have you on. Yeah, so you were introduced to us by Andrea of the Shepherds.
Yeah, man. Andrea, good
So
people.
that's
Good
pretty
people.
cool. That's pretty cool of him. So how do you know?
Yeah.
How do you know Andrea then, Charlie?
Yeah, he's a good guy. Andrea is published under Caliber Comics, which my book Boy Zero is also published under. And they have a creator circle, like a hidden Facebook page where a bunch of the Caliber creators have a little bit of forum, and they could talk about the craft and experience and about Comic Cons that they've gone to, approaches they've done that were successful, some that weren't. Also, podcasts they've done, interviews for this, and that. It's to help each other out to self-promote, because the name of the game right now, even though you're published, is to brand awareness, to get yourself out there,
Sure.
As much as possible. The way of the publicist in comic books, if it exists, I've never heard of it. It's like the unicorn, of our industry. So, we all self-promote, help each other out, and do what we can. And Andrea and I, we shared books, a while back. He read Boy Zero, I was reading The Shepherd. And we just got on the phone one day, and I was driving to New York. I'm in Pennsylvania now. It's a 3-hour drive. It was supposed to be just like a 2-minute conversation just to say, hey, man, I really dig your stuff. We talked for 3 hours. Like, he kept me company the entire time. So, yeah, he's a good dude. Really good guy.
He's exactly that kind of guy, isn't he? I mean,
Definitely.
when we got off the chat, we were like straight away, because, like you say, the self-promotion and sharing things about, that's exactly what this episode is about. It's we do our normal show, which is a general movie talk show that a lot of, like, it's top fives, things we've been watching, but we also have the indie talk, which is where we like to speak to independent creators, much like yourself, which is why we wanted you on. And we had Andrea on that a couple of months back for Shepherd, and we got off that call, and it was like, you know what, I could have sat there for another 2 or 3 hours.
Definitely. definitely.
He's some boy. But you are here to talk about your book, Boy Zero, which we've both read the first volume. I've not had a chance to read the second volume yet. And dude, this is a book. This is a great book.
It certainly is. Yes, yeah. We've been speaking over email and what have you for a few weeks now, and holy shit, that first issue, or the first volume, even. My God.
Yeah, it's
that's great, guys. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Goes to some places.
And yeah, wait till you start reading volume 2. I'm about halfway through volume 2, so we'll not get into spoiler territory because we want people to go and read it, you know. But so yeah, you're here to talk about Boy Zero. But I was doing a little bit of research earlier on,
like a good researcher.
Exactly, almost like a professional, if anything. Now you've got an interesting story, Charlie, about how you came to fall in love with the murder mystery genre that involved a little bit of lockpicking. So what can you tell us that story?
Yeah, I as a kid grew up Long Island, New York, and a very very affluent area. But my family had no money. We had nothing. We were poor as poor as they come in this small town. And what ended up happening is that my escape was in books. Was in comic books. Was in film and, going to the local Blockbuster and spending literally 2 hours trying to pick out a movie, every Friday night. So my father and I, we had a bond over the macabre, which is a weird thing to have a bond over, I guess. And so my pops would sneak me out when I was a little kid and take me to horror movies after my mom fell asleep. There was this little rinky-dink theater down the road. I remember I think I saw Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warrior with him, and
nice.
You want to hear like a writer or an artist has this awakening moment. They get hit in the head by something, or the near-death experience. Mine was Robert Englund chasing after kids in a dream. You know what I mean? It was like this this fucked up kind of bonding experience with my dad. It was just him and I. We didn't share catch. We didn't go to sports games. It was a much different relationship than I think most kids would have with their father. So my mom got wind of these late night horror movie things, and she put a kibosh on all that pretty early on. She's like, he's not watching this shit, not in my house. He's not going to be a weird dude growing up, an introvert with some weird issues and shit, which probably I ended up being anyway. So so she put a kibosh on all of it, and so my dad was a huge reader of Stephen King and Clive Barker and Straub and a bunch of these other horror writers, and H.P. Lovecraft. So he would hide them from me, and I didn't know. I didn't even know that he was reading them. Honestly, they did a pretty good job at hiding them. And when I was a kid, I got my hands on this lock-picking little pamphlet. It felt like it was illegal to have it. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't supposed to have this thing. I got it from a bookstore, and as a kid, I ended up actually swiping it. I grabbed it and ran out of the store, and I practiced lockpicking like crazy. And one of the biggest ones was this drawer that my dad had in one of his cabinets, and it had like an old skeleton key, sort of lock on it, and it was just so enticing. It was like, I want to see what the hell is in this thing, and why did they lock it? Like, what the hell's in there? I'm thinking it might be porno or something like that. Like something, like a normal thing to hide from a kid. So I unlock it when they're at the grocery store, and I come to find that it's just filled with Stephen King books. And this is back when Stephen King books were just badass, and the covers were just works of art in themselves, and just creepy. I remember one of them, I think it was for the Night Shift, had this bandaged hand on the cover and a cosmic background, and the hand had eyes in the hand, and they were coming out of the gauze. And to me, I'd never seen anything like that as a kid. You know what I mean? I'm like, what the hell is this? So what I would do is I would treat it like the library. I would take one book, I would sneak off, and I would read it at night, and then I would return it back to, the same place that it was, and then lock it, again. I don't know that they ever caught on that I was doing this, but I just kind of became obsessed with like the horror genre. Probably way too young.
No, you can never be too young. Never.
No. So was there any one of the books then that actually made you fall in love with it? Was it any particular story or any particular book that made you think, hell yeah?
Yeah, there was Hitchcock actually put out a series of short stories. Now, to this day, I don't know where the book is. I'll never. I've looked for it. I can't find it. So I don't know if he actually authored them, or if he was a ghostwriter, or if he just produced these short stories like his TV show. But there was a series of short stories, and in one of them, it was a very similar story to Creepshow, that thing with the blob that's in the water, and there's a bunch of kids swimming, and they end up getting stuck on like a floating island, a wood floating island that they could dive off of in the middle of the lake. And there's something in the water, this like this blob, this weird creature that was probably toxic waste. Back then, toxic waste created every monster you can imagine. So this story in this Hitchcock one, this book, just scared the shit out of me when I was a kid. It was so well written, and at that moment, like I kind of self-reflected, and I was like, this feeling that I'm feeling, like I dig this. I want to do this to other people. You know what I mean? Like I want to share that sort of roller coaster sort of experience in writing, because I can do that from home. You know what I mean? Like I can do that from the comforts of a locked room and at that time a typewriter. So that was that Christmas in particular. After I had that kind of revelation, I got a typewriter. And I haven't looked back since. Just been writing since I was a kid.
The first Stephen King book I can remember reading was It.
Yeah, but you don't like drums.
Well, that's why.
I suppose. So you're not looking forward
to
That's
a good one.
I am not.
You're going to read any of them. That's a good one.
It is. There's a lot of, when we get to Boy Zero as well, there's sort of, when you have, again, we're not going to do spoilers, but it's sort of set in sort of flashbacky form, sort of, when you're with the children and you're telling the children's story, you can feel a very Stephen King vibe, the way they're reacting with each other and that. So it obviously has brushed off on you, and it has taken an influence.
Absolutely. I mean, the way that Tarantino pays homage to his favorite films or whatnot, like the whole point of Boy Zero was to pay homage to the things that I loved as a kid, and that was the Stephen King miniseries. Not even the books, like, because there was an influx of like these miniseries that were coming out from like the late '80s to mid '90s, and we didn't have cable. We had nothing. So the only horror and whatnot was being filtered through like broadcast TV. So it was kind of watered down, but they just kind of greenlit a few of these miniseries in America here, and like they were much creepier than anything that was on. You know what I mean? Like it was like this experience where like the family would get around. It was a 3-night event or a 2-night event, and no matter what, we would make sure we were home, because there was there was no VHS recorder in the house. You had to watch it in real time, and no one was allowed to talk. If anyone talked, someone would get shushed. Popcorn and candy, and it was just a big event. So with this book, I wanted to kind of capture the essence of those miniseries. They were broken up into almost like chapters for TV, and the length of Boy Zero is intentionally the same length of one of those miniseries, like a 2-night event sort of thing, which kind of brings out the whole Volume 1, Volume 2 sort of feel of it.
We are going to talk about Boy Zero. We are going to get into it in a minute. But first, before Boy Zero came around, you've made a couple of short movies as well. which
Oh, you guys did do some research. Look at
oh,
you guys.
yeah, man. And you might get even more impressed because I watched one of them.
Oh, all right.
And
Nice.
I watched
Very cool.
the Children of the Fleeting Light.
Yeah.
Man.
Oh, okay.
Why are you not still doing this? I mean, obviously you've got a love for the book and for a short movie, for somebody who obviously just kind of fell onto it. That's a very well made short movie.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I am still making shorts. I've taken a little bit of a break as of recently to focus on the graphic novels and whatnot, and that's mainly because the crew that I was working with on the short films, people are getting married. There's babies involved now. Like it just it kind of the dynamic has to change a bit because you can't. I don't have the same freedoms of writing to make a film. Like it takes a lot to pull off. Many people to pull off a short film. So I have full intention to do another short film within the next year, and then the ultimate goal has always been to lead up and do a feature. So I'm leading up to that. I'm hoping some success from Boy Zero, and then my next book I've been working on might open up a door or two to help me get that dream come true.
No, like I wasn't trying to detract from the comic book or anything like that, but literally, like, Chris sent me the link to it, and it's only like 8-9 minutes long, and it's brilliant. I'm sitting there thinking, why is this guy not doing? Why is he not making more of these? But I mean, my hat is off to you, my friend, because that is for a short movie, it's very well accomplished. So I just want to give you a little tip to that before we pimp out Boy Zero.
Yeah, it also made me go as well when he smacks his wrists down on the table and the blood goes everywhere on the table. I was sat there going, oh.
That was the effect we were going for.
Good stuff. There you go.
Exactly, my man. And I did read that you also won an award for that one. Was it one of the International Film Festival? I mean, hats off to you, my friend. Brilliant. So,
yeah.
Thank you, guys. That's awesome. I really appreciate it.
I'm sorry to swerve the conversation that way. It's not what we're here to talk about, but I can't help myself, like when we look into this kind of thing and we see that you have many feathers in your cap, it's like, let's talk about that a little bit. And on we go.
Oh yeah, we like to talk about different things.
We do.
Yeah. Well, we're going to Boy Zero now. Anyway, that's why you're here. So we've both, as we said, read the first volume.
Yes.
I'm halfway through the second volume. So for anyone who's listening to this show, which we hope everybody will,
yep, I'm sure.
What can you tell the listeners about the plot of the story?
Well, the essence of it really came from me growing up in the small town where my best friends were like this motley crew of kids on this street called Lawrence Street, and by no means should we have been friends. The only reason, it's weird how like friendships kind of blossom where like like, hey, you're around more than these other people, let's hang out. You know what I mean? Like, those personalities though, like, should never have, mixed up. So like, I'm hanging out with kids that were like in school were like the popular kids that might have been bullies or whatnot. But in their school, I would have been the one that was being bullied. But on this block, it was like safe. We were all just kids, just having a good time. So you have this very unique dynamic of all these different types of personality that would not exist together in the school forum, but on this block, we all got along really well. So on that block, we would just get into these freaking wild adventures of like, breaking and entering just to eat, cereal, like one of our neighbors, just steal their cereal, just stupid little bullshit that kids do at 8 years old,
Yeah.
But it was like the biggest adventures of our lives. So I wanted to capture that essence of like these bonds that I had with these kids, but introduce malice into that scenario. You have these incredible bonds, and then you start to break it apart with a murder mystery, like an Agatha Christie setting, like a 10 Little Indians. What will these kids do for each other to protect each other? So the basic idea of the story is that there's murders happening into this small town. It's unexplainable. The parents are at a loss. The cops are at a loss. And for me, in stories, very like the better stories from when I was a kid, horror comes to play for me when those who protect get spooked. You know, like when the ones that are protecting the kids, like the parents, the police, the ones that are supposed to be the infallible representation of safety, when they get spooked and that dynamic just breaks apart, there's so much horror in those moments, you know? So for me, I wanted those parents to start to get spooked because they can't explain why their children are being killed. So the kids, out of necessity, come together and say, well, we're not going to have this. You know, we're not going to allow any more of our friends to die, and kind of band together. So that's the heart of the story. But that's in the past. In the present time, there's a series of murders happening in my metropolis called Glass City, and the entire city is shackled in fear because every so often, every duckbill speaker in this town, in the city, will just crackle to life, and this old slave song called "When God Dips His Pen of Love in My Heart" starts to play, and it's just creepy, and people, like, the killer has got everybody, because in that moment he is king, and everyone knows that someone in that city is getting butchered, and it could be someone they love, an acquaintance, it could be their boss, someone randomly is getting mauled. And when the music stops, the killing is over. So everyone is united in that moment. So our main detective is not having it. You know, he doesn't sleep anymore. He's just like, we cannot allow this. This is terrorism in its worst form. So he ends up getting a lead in the case. They're about 7 kills deep when the story begins. And they race to the supposed place of the next murder. And as they're pulling up in their squad cars, the song kicks in, and they're like, fuck, this is it. You know, this is the lead we've been looking for. They run upstairs, and they come to find that, like, the throne of God, this killer, is there. There's no one in the apartment. He's on his knees, and his eyes are just completely dilated, and he looks like a crack fiend. He's just mumbling into himself. He's just incoherent, and they're like, what the hell is going on? They arrest him, bring him into the hospital, and he starts screaming about someone else being there. Someone else in that room ruined his life's work. Someone was there waiting for him where he was supposed to kill that person. And in that moment, he tries to escape. They end up killing him, and now the mystery's afoot, right? Because in those eyes, in that killer's eyes, the detective is reminded of a killing that happened, a series of killings that happened 15 years prior in that small town with those kids. And when they think they solved it 15 years prior, now he's like, what the hell did we miss? Something is connecting these two cases, and this doesn't make sense. You know, like, none of this makes sense. So he has to revisit and go back to a couple of the kids that survived those killings and try to piece together what these two things have in common, because he fears that it's not over and it's going to keep happening, and that this is going to be a case that never closes and will continue on for the rest of his career if he doesn't nip it in the ass now. So we start jumping back and forth in time, and we're trying to figure out what he missed in the past through recollection and just story from some of the kids that survived. And you come to find that these kids are fucked up now. Like, they survived almost like a genocide, like just the most supernatural, horrific thing any kid should ever be through. What do they end up being when they grow up? They're some fucked up individuals. So he's trying to get truth out of them, and in so doing, he's got to kind of come to terms with the fact that he's responsible for these lives being ruined. You know, in a way, he takes on that responsibility and refuses to allow it to ever happen again. So he's a man with a mission. He's obsessed to kind of figure out how to nip it in the ass. So while I'm taking, obviously, some elements, some major heavy elements from, like, the Stephen King's It, you know, that whole dichotomy of back and forth, you know, children being killed, and as an adult making that promise and coming back. That's homage. That is me, you know, like, saying I love that story. Like, I want to take that element and do something else with it, which which is when I bring in like an Agatha Christie murder mystery into that whole thing. In Stephen King's It, Pennywise is forefront. He's in your face. He is constantly there with you. One of my old professors would say the difference between sci-fi horror and horror is that the creature, you're either going to the creature, and if you're going to the creature, that's sci-fi horror.
Mm-hmm.
That's like Aliens. You're going to it.
Mm-hmm.
Horror is it comes to you. It's looking for you. You're the prey. You're getting hunted. So like Jaws and when it being like a creature feature almost sort of thing, it's coming to you. In this story, I feel like in certain ways it's almost like sci-fi horror because we're going to it. We're trying to find it and bring it out and get our answers that we need. We need it to take it out of the shadows and bring it into the light because if we don't understand it, we're going to go insane.
Yeah.
It's so good. It really is so good. We'll get to where people can buy later on, but it is so good.
Yeah, you're super passionate about it as well when you talk about it, which is great because it helps sell it, and we don't have to. But the thing I do love about the book is the moments with the kids because I am a big sort of like I loved it. I loved Stand By Me. I really enjoyed the TV show Stranger Things. When you've got the kids together, I think that's where these sort of stories can live or die, and yours certainly kind of lives there. But the character of Drecker, is he based on anyone? Like when you were writing him, was there anybody in your head? Because he's such a great, well-rounded character for a graphic novel, really to just pop out at you.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you. Like I said, I was pulling visuals and things that really excited me. So I would say he spawned from the character of Seven, Morgan Freeman's character.
Yeah.
That's where I probably just on paper day one I was like, okay, I'm going to start with this, and where do I take a character like this? And then I threw in a little bit of myself into the character, just the obsession of knowledge. I mean, he is more a historian than anything else because he's just trying to understand. You know what I mean? And try to, get that's the heart of his obsessions. And then honestly, he's like a building of hope. You know what I mean? In a city of crumbling, just fear. Like he's supposed to be stability. You know what I mean? Like he's supposed to be the ultimate savior as far as to people that the wayward souls. You know what I mean? So from that, I mean, it's crazy to say. I'm just only thinking about it now because you asked the question. But I think my grandmother, honestly, I think my good old Grandma Sissy found her way into that character. I mean, Grandma Sissy would not curse at all. So a lot of that cadence was just his own. Drucker became himself on the page that way. But, my grandmother was the one that you always felt safe around. And I kind of wanted to grab that essence and bring it in. I don't think Grandma Sissy would appreciate or approve of his language in this book.
Well,
she used to do a fun thing where, if I pissed her off, she would give me what was called the elbow, and she would, dig her elbow into my side. And she was like, live in this moment right now because you did this. You did something wrong, So she definitely would have given me the elbow for that.
Excellent, man. Yeah, personally, when I first started reading it, like you say, the Morgan Freeman character in Seven, he drew connotations of that, but from word one, from panel one, and I don't know, you'll be completely different. I had Lawrence Fishburne in my head. I was just sitting there thinking,
okay,
this is Lawrence Fishburne all over, and I'm loving this guy.
Yeah, he was definitely fun to write for. When he's going off on his tangents, and I think I almost created his partner Kip just to take a beating from Drecker.
Yeah, Kip is great too. I love Kip.
Kip is great. You've got to have a good...
I'm like, what kind of a character can I throw into this mix that Drecker is just to tear to pieces from time to time? So, but then as I was writing it, then you get to have a little bit of fun, in that moment where the first time in his life Drecker asks a favor from Kip, the very person that is the embodiment of a fuck up to him. You know what I mean? Like for Drecker to kind of like become humbled and like, as a character, he's lived his entire life, he thought successfully, just to find out that he's been very unsuccessful in his entire career. Now takes a little piece of humble pie. That's going to come up a little bit into Volume 2. I think you're pretty close to that moment, but it's a pretty pivotal moment for that character.
Cool, man. Looking forward to that then. Personally, one of my favourite bits with the two of them back and forth is in the hospital, like you say, when they have the throne of God, or the guy they've got from the hotel room, and don't want to give any spoilers away, but he uses some of his bodily fluids, and then when they shoot the guy, and he's literally sitting there like, oh shit, he's covered in my. It's just like great panel, loved it, absolutely loved it.
Thanks a lot, man. Yeah, the Throne of God, I always wanted to make him a germaphobe to the extreme. Yeah. You know what I mean? Shaves his head, everything, no hair in his body and whatnot. So I just imagine these two in a room like late at night, just after like week 4 of like not seeing their loved ones, just like grinding every night trying to figure this case out, just coming up with fun scenarios of what they're going to do to the guy when they finally find him. And they probably drew straws, and Kip won, and Kip was like, I'm going to piss on this motherfucker. You know?
That was sort of the point of the book as I was reading it. I was enjoying the dialogue. I'm enjoying the back and forth because you're a great writer when it comes to your dialogue. But that one scene cemented that relationship between them two for me. Was just, I was like, okay, this is something I need to finish now. When I read Volume 1 in one go, I just powered through it. I'm like, this is fantastic. But that was the panel for me.
That was your favourite panel?
It was.
Fair enough.
It's more the reaction when he's kind of like, oh man, we just shot this guy and he's covered in my... Just great.
My favourite moment of the first volume was the kids in the... Was it an old factory?
Yeah.
Was it an old factory?
Yeah.
Yeah, the kids in the factory and the sort of the homeless guy
comes walking in.
That's great. That's so great and so
tense,
creepy. Yeah.
Quite tense, yeah.
When I was starting to write there was this story that I read in I want to say National Geographic. I found there's a place called Cancer Alley out in Louisiana, and the photographer did this great expose, and the pictures were just haunting. Where you see graveyards, and in the background you see these huge smokestacks of just pluming, just carcinogens just hitting the air. And they said the cancer rate in this town was off the charts. Like there was no like covering this thing up. You know what I mean? Like, like everyone in this town was dying of cancer. And the graveyard in that place was just ginormous. Like they just had to build it out to compensate for like all the death that was happening in this area. And I was like, that's profound. So like those visuals, those ideas kind of leaked into this, and like the idea that these kids would not have pretty places to hang out, but kind of be forced into these abandoned factories and whatnot, and like make the best of it, because kids are resilient, they'll make the best of it. But that old homeless guy, whatnot, that comes directly from my childhood. There was some creepy moments of like living in a small town, like like a drifter or something like that coming through, and like us being down at the sump. I don't know if you guys have them out there, but like the reservoir where all the water will go in the area. We would hang out in those areas, and every so often you might have a kind of a sketchy character come walking through looking for cigarettes or whatever. And and in these areas, like on the ground, there's like abandoned mattresses with questionable stains on them. You don't know where they came from. So your mind just starts like running, like what the hell is, like what's going on in here? But we'd ride our BMX bikes up and down and whatnot. And one time in particular, some old homeless guy came through, and I guess it rattled me more than I thought, because it stuck with me for a long time.
All excellent stuff to go in a book.
Well, yeah. That was one thing I was going to ask you, actually, was obviously, no child murder, but were there any sort of experiences like that from when you were a kid that made it into the story?
Yeah, there's, well, The ghost in the graveyard scene with the kids and Dill pissing himself. There's a lot of piss in this book. I didn't
There is,
realize
yeah.
right
Kind of sold me on the book though. So
that actually happened. I was the one that scared the crap out of. Dill is based off of a little kid that I grew up with on my block. He didn't have the tears of blood like in this book, but he did like small mousy kid, sweet as a button, and I ended up in a game of Ghost in the Graveyard. I scared the hell out of him, and he pissed himself, and he ran home. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to use that in the story one day, and I did. I made good on that promise. Other elements to it, that actually happened to me, it's more just the bonds of those kids. Like, they are very much my friends. So, like, the idea of any of them getting picked off and whatnot is kind of what like fueled the fire of the storytelling there.
One of the things I wanted to mention to you, Charlie, was the artwork. The artwork in volume 1 in particular was for a start, it looks amazing. The artwork is beautiful.
yeah.
Thank you.
But one of the things I mentioned, or one of the things I wanted to mention to you in particular, was the different styles of artwork. Like say the paneling for the different time, the different times were sort of distinct.
Yeah.
So, what can you tell us about the process of deciding what the artwork was going to be like, and how did you come up with the idea of making it different for the different time frames?
When I was looking for the right artist for this project, I knew that my money had to stretch. I couldn't afford, to be paying $200 a page. I mean, I knew that this was going to be a long journey. So I knew that I was going to be looking in the indie market, someone up and coming. So I was looking in a pool of artists that, had a lot of prospect, just weren't there yet, And then I stumbled upon 2 artists that I thought were fantastic, but Shiloh's use of watercolor I thought was just gorgeous. That she was actually like, it was almost like it was in my head. She was the cinematographer for this movie that I was just trying to make. She captured nostalgia for me through watercolors. You know what I mean? Like there was just some sort of a connection between the bleed of the watercolor on the page and just recanting these tales in my head, what they would be like, in like a flashback. So we decided to stick to oranges and reds as the sort of like the palette for past, and in the present time, much more vibrant blues. Scheme to kind of differentiate the two, because we also knew I was telling almost the impossible story. We were jumping around back and forth non-linearly so much that without visual representation of going back and forth, it was almost going to be an impossible task to keep the reader not asking a million questions per page, So that was very intentional, because we knew that it was going to be difficult. And also because of that, I came up with the countdown clock.
Yeah, that was great. That was great. I love
zero
that.
clock. Yeah. In order to kind of differentiate back and forth. Now, in the past, it's always counting up before. It's like, 5 days, 3 hours, 2 minutes before 0. And when you're in the future, we're counting after. It's counted, and it's constantly growing up in time. So like 15 years, 11 months, and 3 days after 0. So I just wanted everyone to ask, what the fuck is 0? What happens at 0? Why are we on this journey? I need to understand this one moment that connects everything.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point of this back and forth, that there is one solitary moment of clarity that connects every character and the reader. And in volume 2, that moment is in one single panel of 1,000 panels. When you realize what it is that is essentially the killer.
I've gotten to that stage, and I think I mentioned that to you in one of the emails as well, and I was sat there going, shit. So, but I'll not say anything else.
I'm gonna get this read. I'm gonna get this read.
Yeah, Shiloh and I was afraid Shiloh and I were going to work on that panel for a year, going back and forth. So I wrote in great detail what I needed to happen in that moment. And I shit you not, one try. She nailed it in one try.
Nice.
The horror that I needed to, in that moment. And when I got that email with that image, I was a mixture of like excitement, and I was truly just like freaked out. I thought she nailed the moment perfectly. So hopefully it resonates with people. That build up to that. You know?
As I said to you, I think I did mention it to you on the email, was the eyes. The eyes was
I'm
got me,
gonna
but
have to read this.
yeah, you definitely have to read it.
I'll get through volume 2 tonight when we get off.
Yeah.
All right, email me. Let me know what you think. I would love to hear it.
Definitely, man. I'm quite looking forward to that now. One of the things I did want to mention is that at the end of volume 1, because obviously I've not read volume 2 yet, there's a good couple of pages sort of showing you the process with you and your artist. I mean, what was that all about? What was that? Was that just to kind of to show people sort of how, like you say, she was in your head and you were on the same page? As someone reading it, it was great because it's kind of like, oh, so this is how the it's nice to see. Not a lot of comic books do that. What was the process there? What was that just?
Shiloh and I have been working on this book for like 8 years, 9 years. So like,
wow.
Fuck. Sorry.
She, it was like, this labor of love, you know what I mean? And the process was like a therapist to me. When I was down in the dumps any day or whatnot, and I would get an email, and we would have these exchanges back and forth of like, what this page needs to look like. Can we make these corrections? Blah blah blah. And then she would come back and whatnot. I can't tell you, it was like a breakthrough on a psychiatrist chair every time. Where it helped me get through some personal tragedies in my life, and kept my head on a swivel. Like I was just completely focused on the end game. I had so many nightmares, literally, not metaphorically. I had nightmares that Shiloh was just going to disappear one day. Something was going to happen. Like we were like 5 years deep, and we were not going to be able to finish this thing that we both loved so much, and that it would not end up seeing the light of day. But we got through it, and her and I, I'll always work with her in the future, and I kind of just wanted to share that experience of like how it is done, because growing up, wanted to break into film, into the industry of comics or any form of storytelling, you don't hear the meaty stories. You don't hear about like, this is how I got in. This is what I did. I sat on a corner with a billboard that said, read my screenplay, for like 3 weeks. You know what I mean? Like, they don't talk about getting down and dirty and like what you had to do. I mean, even if it's, my uncle was a producer, and I passed off this comic book, to him, and then this and that. Everyone wants to feel like they're so deserving of fame, that they are like geniuses, and they don't want to explain like the process of like the favors that went into play, like the things behind the scenes. And like, for me, I really respect like Robert Rodriguez. Robert Rodriguez revels in independent filmmaking, and he will explain everything to a T of what he did to make it work. I mean, he even talks in an interview I saw recently about how he knew he was never going to have a presence in film if he didn't build a Hispanic cast in America. And he thought the only way he could do that is repetition. Keep putting the same actors over and over again in his films, build their branding, their fame, hope to God that it expands to other films, and then he's built his own scene. Yeah. You know what I mean? People don't talk about that. They don't talk about like like the thoughts that go into these plans of theirs and whatnot. So I wanted to be very candid and explain that like, this is, I probably 1,000 hours sitting at a local coffee shop, working back and forth with her, doing my own layouts, for, the publishers, because, you have to justify your pages left and right, like all these different things that, you have to do, like, it's very time consuming, but like in the end, if you kind of treat it like it's your friend, the product itself, and you want to do best for it, and you're also, it's like a therapy for you, then you're just gonna, you're gonna stay with it, and you're gonna get through it. So I just want to educate the other writers out there, the other filmmakers, whatever it is, just be as candid as possible and say, this is my journey, this is what I've done to get here. You can do it your way or whatnot, but this is either worked or not worked for me, and I'll always do that in everything that I work on.
To be honest, that is exactly the answer I thought you were going to come with. Because
Okay.
when I read it, I was like, "Oh, this is fantastic!" Like you say, you don't always see that, and this is why we do the Indie Talk episodes, and we try to speak to creators like yourself, because you are the guys who are going to give us the meat and the bones of what you actually have to get up to, and when I read that, it took us back a little bit, and I loved it. So
Very cool. I'm glad you guys like it. I wasn't sure if it was something that people would just skim over really quick and then be like, whatever, let's get to the next thing.
I have to be honest. When I first came to it, and I came to the last panel of the actual story, then I came to the next panel, but it was sort of pencil drawn, and it was showing you the process. I was sitting there thinking, okay, so is he having a flashback now? And I was like, oh no, this isn't part of the story. But
Yeah, it's also partly like a love letter to, like, Shiloh's work. I want people to see what she's been able to pull off on such an indie level. Like, out of her apartment in Brooklyn, 8 years, and we're here. It would have been a lot quicker. I'm not gonna lie. Had the money been there to to pay every week this and that. I mean, but there had to be some weeks where I was like, all right, well, I really wanted to, go out to the bar with a bunch of my friends, but I got to push that off this week. I'm gonna, I gotta pay for a couple more pages, for Shiloh to finish. And it was kind of like this do it as you physically can. I mean, there was one point during the economic bubble burst here in the States that I was on unemployment, and I would remember rationing the very little money they would give, that 10% of it would, or 15% would go towards Shiloh, and the rest I would just have to make work.
Yeah.
And if it meant ramen noodles on a sandwich, whatever fucking like abomination I had to eat just to make it work, I would do it. You know what I mean? So, I just kind of wanted to get that out there and to show people what she can do.
It's also helpful, we've as we said, we've had Andrea and Roberto on the show previously, and they taught themselves. They had a story that from Andrea's bad dream, and they decided, right, this needs to be told. We want to tell this story, but they had no idea of what to do, how to script it, what artists to find, how to do lettering. They had no idea, and they taught themselves.
Yeah.
Which, so that's really cool that you've put that in there.
Yeah, man.
To show, guys like Andrea and Roberta, like, this is how it's
guys
done.
like me and you.
Exactly. Yeah.
The idea of, like, the hero's journey, the trials and tribulations from the hero to get from point A to point B. The tribulations is the heart of the story. I mean, everyone loves Rocky because, everything that he was put through to get there, right? I mean, that's the heart of storytelling. That's good storytelling. So why hold off? Why not share that? You know what I mean? Like Andrea and whatnot, like sharing that they had to teach themselves and whatnot. That's enthralling to me. That's the heart of it. I want to hear about that.
It's what we're finding a lot as well with some of the independent directors we've been speaking to as well. It's across the board. It's like, if you're on an indie level, that is what you need to be doing, and that's the stories we keep hearing.
Okay, so there are 2 volumes of Boy Zero that are available for people to go and find now. So, Charlie, tell people right now, where can they find Boy Zero?
So Boy Zero exists in 2 iterations. You got Volume 1 and Volume 2, and that's in color. You can go to Amazon.com, Comixology, you can get it digitally, or if you want the hardcovers, you can go through Amazon.com. You can also go to just about any digital site like Drive-Thru Comics, anything that offers up on the digital, BarnesandNoble.com. You can even go through CaliberComics.com. For the collected work, one volume, all of it together. That's a black and white copy. That was kind of us talking over a Caliber and saying, hey, first-time author, we really want the story to just get out there. We have to make it a little bit more of an easier purchase for people. How do we go about doing that? So the resolution there was collect it. To keep the cost down, we went black and white. That way we can have a price tag of only $15 and get it out there so it's an easier purchase for people. So when I'm going to go to a Comic-Con, they can, spend $20 a volume on the color copies, or if they don't want to take such a risky purchase, $15, you can have the whole thing. Yeah. And honestly, I was hesitant. I was working with Gary Reed, the founder of Caliber Comics, to go black and white. But he was, the guy was just a wealth of information, and just wisdom. He was like, he's like, in certain ways, the color, while it's beautiful, page for page, can distract the viewer from the story you're trying to tell. Mm-hmm. Just try the black and white. Let's see how it goes. So we converted it to black and white, and it feels like an old noir. And it kind of works in its own favor. It kind of helps it. So I don't think anyone's going to really lose anything if they go the black and white. So it's really dependent on the individual reader, what they'd prefer. So you can get the black and white version, Amazon.com, Caliber.com. You can go to BarnesandNoble.com and buy the hard version of the black and white. But it's also got picked up for distribution from Diamond Distributors. Nice. So Diamond Distributors will put it, if a comic book store wants it, they can order it now through Diamond Distribution. Any bookstore is the same bit. So it's available theoretically anywhere that sells books. But if it doesn't have it, all you have to do is go to the clerk and say, hey, can you guys get a copy of Boy Zero in, and they'll deliver it to the store directly.
That's a good idea. We don't have that in the UK, do we?
Diamond.
Do we?
Yeah, we can use Diamond over here.
All right, okay.
Yeah. Call yourself a comic reader. But no, that's excellent. That's excellent. It would be quite an interesting read in black and white, I think, actually. It would be, because I think the story kind of, in a way, does lend itself to that style. So, yeah, that would be interesting. I like the colour.
Yeah. Yeah, the color, like, I just because of the work that Shyla put in, the color really, like, it's great. But again, I understand that first-time author, black and white might be a little bit an easier purchase. But I love that they're both out there, so that, like, if my next books have any sort of success, and my name starts to have a little bit of a branding to it, then people can go back and take a look at Boy Zero that never heard about it, and have the option of going color for it. Cool. Having it still out there would be great.
Cool. Good stuff. Yeah. So now there are two volumes, and obviously we've said that we've not finished the second volume yet, but we will be doing it.
Yep.
So without giving anything away, will there be a volume 3, or does it end after volume 2?
I've actually written volumes 3 and 4.
Oh, sweet.
Nice.
But with that being said, Charlie and I needed a break from that universe after 8 years. So
I was gonna say after 8 years, I think you're due a break.
So what we're doing right now is we're working on a completely new property called Filthy Godless Heathens.
I was going to ask you about that, actually, yeah.
Which is a throwback to like splatter horror of like the 70s and 80s. So we've been working on that. I'm going to be ready for submissions very soon. I'll be happy to send you guys over some early copies. I'd love to know what you think of it.
Absolutely, yeah, because I love the name. I absolutely love the name of that.
Yeah, we went a little bit of a different route this way. We didn't go watercolors. I actually brought in some other colorists to go for a little bit more of a digital polished look to it, as it's more, I'm envisioning it more of a commercial piece, if you will. You know what I mean? More of a something that the average reader from pulling things off the shelves nowadays is become accustomed to, more of like a Marvel polished, sort of look. So we're going that route for this one. It's just more appropriate for this one. But as far as the other two volumes for Boy Zero, in that series we talk about a character named Jackson Wright, who's an author who's kind of on a mission to debunk every major world religion. So Volume 3 dives into his story and how he interconnects into all of Boy Zero's universe. And then volume 4 is kind of like my take on The Shining, or not The Shining, The Stand, or Wizard of Oz. All these characters come together on a final journey and come together, and the mission statement of that one is that they physically have to confront God and convince him to change everything that's happened over the past several books. So those have been written. I will get to them after Filthy Godless Heathens goes into submission. I'll start work on these other books.
So you're a busy man then.
Yeah. Well, I love writing, so it's not it's a love labor of love.
Well, that's good stuff. I mean, we absolutely loved Boy Zero, and we can't wait to read Filthy Godless Heathens as well.
The name.
I just want to say that name over and over again.
He did actually. He emailed me earlier with a little set of questions, because believe it or not, we do actually set questions out, and in it was basically like, so he's working on something called Filthy Godless Heathens, and I want it on the name alone.
It's been making it difficult to email anything about it to people, because when you have a subject line that says Filthy Godless Heathens in it, it tends to go to spam folder.
Oh, come
on. So
on.
I've been having a lot of problems getting it.
I was doing some, obviously I was doing some research earlier on this afternoon, and I typed that into Google. And so there was nothing about your project came up, Charlie, but there was some messed up shit came up on my Google. So
yeah,
probably in some kind of register by now.
My spam folder's been blowing up with from a lot of websites that I haven't been happy about getting their emails. But yeah. So we definitely had some fun with that title. But when you read it, you'll see that it's actually kind of appropriate for the story. So
cool, man.
Yeah, can't wait to read that. But this has been great, Charlie. This has been great, and we wish you the best of luck with Boy Zero. We're going to finish it. I'll have it finished by the weekend, because it's just great. But one thing to finish off. On the show, we have a segment that we like to ask guys like yourself who come on the show. We have a segment called 365 Picks, and it's 365 movies that our listeners, or our guests even, think that people should watch before they die. So, to put you on the spot here, if you were to pick one movie that you think everybody should watch, what would it be?
Oh man,
that's the response we normally get, isn't it? Yeah.
I mean, because the pretentious filmmaker side of me wants to start throwing out Hitchcock and Kubrick just because they understood the craft. But as I'm getting diving into storytelling more and more, I'm coming to find that if you're not having fun while you're watching it, and it's more of a lesson on filmmaking as opposed to being an enjoyable story, then what's kind of the point,
Yeah, sure.
So I'm gonna throw a random one out here, but I'm gonna say there was a movie I saw as a kid that kind of just cemented my sense of humor, and it also had horror in it, and it was just one of those rare films that is instant cult classic as soon as it comes out. A movie called Monster Squad by Frank Drebin.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
That was as a kid. I think I watched that VHS on repeat till it just got crumbly and just wouldn't play anymore. But yeah, no, that's. I think if anybody out there what my writing is going to be over the next several years or whatnot, if you enjoyed anything of a movie like Monster Squad, then you might enjoy what I'm about to be breaking into right now as a writer. Nice. So I'm gonna vote for Monster Squad.
Good pick.
It's a good pick. It's a good pick, and that'll go on the list.
Oh, it's not on the list yet? Good.
No, it's not on the list yet. No, it's not on the list. See, like you say, most people tend to go for the pretentious stuff. As soon as you say it, as soon as you say it to them, it's I really don't want to pick something crap. I need something that like an Oscar movie or something.
It's like a Homer Simpson movement in their head. Think of something clever.
So no, I'm proudly saying Monster Squad.
Great pick. Been an absolutely fantastic talk with you. I'm going to read Volume 2 as quickly as possible because I want to see what that panel is all about.
It's great.
And my man, thanks for coming on and thanks for speaking to us about your book. It's a book that we definitely are going to be helping trying to promote. Once the episode goes out, I'll put all the links on the website as well for where people can get a hold of it, and we'll just try and push it for you, man.
That's amazing, man. Yeah, I really appreciate it, and it's been a pleasure, man. You guys doing a fantastic job. I love it.
Thank you very much.
And I'll be looking for that email. I want to hear what you think about that panel once you read it. Hopefully, you're gonna be creeped the fuck out by it. So that's all I need. That's all I want.
Now I'm gonna have to read it.
Yeah.
But this has been great. I can't say it enough. Thank you for coming on.
All right.
Yeah, I'll be pushing you guys through my media circles as well, and really appreciate the support, guys. Thank you.
Awesome.
Honestly,
Thank you very much,
it's
man.
our pleasure. I mean, and Andrea was the one that got you onto us, so I mean, thank him. But he's a great dude as well. So there was no way we were never going to turn it down. And it really helped that your graphic novel's great. So.
Oh, thank God. Well, have a good night, and I'll be reaching out to you soon once I have some materials for Filthy. I'll send it your way.
Awesome.
Cool, man. Cool.
Hey there, kids. Do you want to hear a show where a bunch of guys sit around in a comic book store and talk about comics and lifestyle choices, other goofy things and shenanigans they get up to? Then
When have we ever talked about comics? Usually it's people sitting on my lap and riding the struggle bus.
That's true. It's mostly shenanigans. But occasionally we talk about comics. And if you like any of those things, comics, shenanigans, Devin's Lap, then you need to check out Snake Oil Comics with me, Travis, and my beautiful co-host, Big Dev.
Find us on iTunes, Stitcher, and snakeoilcomics.com.
So there you go.
There you go.
There you go.
That was a cracking interview.
It was like this is one that I give to you. Like you've done the work on this one. This is all credit to you. Obviously Andrea sent him over to us, and you were the one that read it, and you were like, right, dude, we've got to do this. It's a great book, and we did it, and we're gonna be in a documentary.
I know.
That's scary as fuck. That is
Showing up in a documentary, not just audio as well.
yeah.
Because, we've not got faces for TV.
We definitely don't have faces for TV. We have faces for podcasting.
Yeah, we've got faces for podcasting, definitely, yeah.
And we have damn fine faces for podcasting. As it goes, to be fair, we do. So yeah, you're going to see the empty shell of the pod cave. If you look closely, you might see a little Easter egg in the background, because we like throwing out Easter eggs. And yeah, it's fucking awesome, man.
Yeah.
Will you be watching that? Will that be?
Oh, I'll watch it. The documentary. Charlie was telling us about the documentary after, and it sounds really interesting. So I will be watching it. I might just look away from the TV,
just hide
when we come on the screen,
and you won't be showing the parents or any friends, or just be like, yeah, this will be something for me, because we don't want people seeing our faces.
We're not going to go Eric Cartman now. We're in a documentary. He wants to fucking touch me.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to that as well. Charlie's got some other projects lined up that he's working on. It's all great stuff. You'll have heard it all in the interview. We here at 365 on Indie Talk, we fully endorse this guy, and we hope you go out, click all the links that I'm going to be providing for you, buy every copy you possibly can, and let's make this guy, let's put him over the top. Over the top, man. Over the top. I feel we can make people.
Oh, yeah.
But we can also break them.
That's too much power for us. We cannot recommend Boy Zero enough.
Yeah.
It's just fucking great. So everybody go out and buy yourselves a copy of Volume 1 and 2 and give it a read, because it's damn good.
Excellent. So with that, we will just leave it there, and we'll just go on to the next thing, which will be episode 78. Awesome, man.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah.
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 We will talk about stories and things in 78, but this is Indie Talk. And this guy's awesome.
What's the story with the documentary then? Is it following Boy Zero, or
the idea of the documentary is that kind of about independent comic books writing. So the idea is that right now, as it's happening, we're in this really interesting phase of comics where it's like the Wild Wild West. Success is there's no journey set in stone. Everyone's coming from different angles at it. Like you look at The Walking Dead and like how that became huge.
Yeah.
And if you really look at those books and whatnot, they're not beautifully illustrated, like Marvel, so much color, catching your eye. They're black and white books, you know what I mean? But driven by story, so the idea is that right now, the great gold rush, writers are going out to make their name for themselves, and everyone's doing it in different ways.
Yeah.
So for my journey with Boy Zero and what's going to happen now, I guess I'm one of the vehicles for the documentary, just to see, hopefully there'll be a payoff, at some point in over the next year or so, maybe some form of success, so that there's an ending to the damn movie. But besides that, it's more about the journey. Like I don't want to call it a hero's journey, because I'm very humble. I don't look at myself like that. But like the trials and tribulations that happen to someone like me, the 1,000 hours of sitting in a coffee shop, the going to Comic-Cons, I'm doing a book signing coming up, my first book signing, and like if no one shows up, like how horrifying that is, like all that sort of stuff, with the hopes that at the end of the tunnel there's a little bit of light. So he's gonna actually interview Andrea as well to kind of hear his side of his journey.
Cool.
And maybe a couple other guys, and just kind of see the lay of the land. Because as of right now, it's almost like, I don't know if you remember, but like in the early 90s when like the Weinstein Company was pulling out like these indie darlings of like Tarantino, Rodriguez, you get like the brothers McMullen, like all Duffy, the guy who did Boondock Saints, like independent filmmaking was hot. Like everyone was looking for like the next big thing or whatnot, and there was an insurgence of like just like interesting, different storytelling. And I feel like right now, comic books is offering what film can't, because you have movies being made with a dollar sign of like $1 billion. Like the Infinity Wars is a freaking $1 billion. That's insane. That movie has to look pretty. You can't take chances on that storytelling. You know what I mean? So like storytelling suffers because of it. So that's it. That's kind of like the mission statement. Like hopefully, because of comics right now, it will open up some interesting stories and different storytelling for 5 years from now, to start leaking into other media, So that's the basic idea, and you guys, your faces are going to be a part of it. So
wow. Shit, I should have done my hair.
I know, yeah, me too. Yeah. Should have the mirrors on the desk to light up our faces and all that.
right, man. Well, on that bombshell,
you guys are good. You're two pretty men. You'll be fine.
We're 1.5 pretty men, but we'll take it.